In this example, ladies and gentlemen, when you're going to factor, and basically what I wanted you guys to do, this is just like number 13 and number 20. It's the same basic idea, but I didn't explain this with the negative. You guys could factor this just like the way we did before. However, what I always like to do, I always like to have my w squared being positive. So what I'm going to do is I am going to factor out a negative 1. By factoring out a negative 1, I now turn that to a positive. This now turns to a negative, and then that's a positive. Okay? Then I can further factor this down. You could use any of the methods that I told you. Basically, you're trying to determine what two numbers multiply to give you 35, add to give you negative 12. Right? When I'm writing down my factors, if I'm doing this in my head and I'm having trouble with this, I always write down the factors. And when I'm writing down the factors, I always start with the number times 1. It's the easiest one to do. Then I say, is there any number times 2 that gives me 35? No. Any number times 3? Nope. 4? Nope. 5? Yeah. 7 times 5. But then I notice what two numbers they have to also add to give me negative 12. Well, if my two numbers are positive, they're never going to add to give me negative 12, correct? So therefore, I know that they have to both be negative. And a negative times a negative still gives me a positive, right? So what were my two numbers that multiply to give me negative 30 or positive 35, add to give me negative 12?
Negative 7 and negative 5.
Right. So we write negative 7 and negative 5. And as you guys remember, hopefully from that box method, what you guys recognize is whatever numbers were here were also in my factors. And then I just leave that negative on the outside. You could distribute that negative. Some of you might have had like a negative x plus 7, or you had a negative x plus 5, and that would have been OK as well. I always like, oh, thank you. I always like to write just the, I always like to factor out that negative, though. OK? Yes?
I got negative w plus 7 times w minus 5.
It's the same thing.
Okay, did that's correct?
What happens if you?
I didn't do the factoring out the negative 1.
I know, that's fine.
It, like,
Look
in
at,
my head.
if you multiply that negative times that factor, you get your answer.
Okay.
I just factored it out.
Okay, I just did like.
It's the same
I did
thing.
it in my head.
That's, yeah, and that's perfectly fine. I didn't tell you guys what to do for these, so that's OK. OK? OK. Yes. Sasha.
So if that question was like on a test, how would you write it? Like the way you wrote it or the way she wrote it?
Either way is acceptable on a test. If it's a multiple choice, you'd have to just know that both forms are different. So you'd want to see which one would work on like a multiple choice test. But as far as a test with me, both of them are acceptable. Yes?
Why is the negative on the outside instead by just like get rid of
Get rid of the negative? What do you mean?
Because you fixed the 12 and the 35 so the other way around, so I thought you got rid of the negative.
No, I didn't get rid of it. I just factored it out. This negative is still multiplied by all of those. I just factored it out. Let me go over the other two problems, and it might make a little bit more sense. I didn't really go over the negatives with you.